top 10 reasons for image rejection and how to avoid them. Commercial images need to have great concept, creative flair, and meet very high technical standards. Every image needs to tick a lot of boxes. Editors look at everything from the concept, the subject matter and execution, to all the minuscule technical checks that ensure an image is good enough for commercial sale. Here is our list of the top 10 issues that can get an image rejected at the review stage, and how to avoid them. 1. The wrong subject matter. Commercial images need to sell. Images that don't have any sales potential get rejected. To avoid this kind of rejection, take time to think about what your image could be used for. This could be purely conceptual, or something more descriptive and can cover every kind of subject matter. Thinking about your images in this way is the most important step towards shooting great creative imagery. 2. Focus issues. Take time to compose your shot. Make sure focus is locked on the subject. Selecting the center point of focus option on your camera can make this quicker and easier. When using a low f number, make sure your subject is as still as possible and make sure your camera is steady. Choose the right point of focus. For portraits and animals, it's nearly always the eyes. For landscapes, calculate your hyperfocal distance to find the best focal point. 3. Motion blur and camera shake. Even a slow-moving subject can appear out of focus if you are not using the right camera settings. Likewise, a slow shutter speed can mean small camera movements are registered on the image as kind of motion blur. To avoid these problems, think about your subject's speed and the lighting conditions. Take test shots to check your camera settings are correct. Find a way to keep your camera steady. Use a tripod, rest the camera on something solid, or lean on a nearby wall to steady your body and arms. 4. Too much noise. Too much noise means the surface of the image appears to break up into ugly blocky pixels. This is a lack of digital information and means a loss of focus and detail in the highlights and shadows. If you change your ISO to shoot in low light, remember to make sure you lower it again when the light is good. Anything above ISO 400 can lead to excessive noise in the image. An ISO 800 or more is almost certainly going to produce excessive grain. When shooting in low light, instead of increasing the ISO to over 400, think about ways to steady your camera and shoot with a longer shutter speed and/or a lower f number. 5. Lack of detail in the highlights or shadows. Think about the time of day. Where possible, avoid bright midday sun, as it will create very light and very dark areas that your camera may not be able to shoot simultaneously without losing information in either the light or dark areas. 6. Blurry night shots. Night shots still need to be pin sharp and without excessive noise. Even the tiniest camera movement can ruin a night shot. Keep your ISO down to avoid too much noise. Use a tripod, and if possible, activate the mirror lockup and use a shutter cable release. To avoid those small wobbles that come with extremely long exposures, shoot at dusk or dawn and make use of the very small amount of available light. 7. Chromatic aberration. This usually occurs as purple fringing on the edge of the subject outline. This happens because the lens cannot focus all the colors of light to the same point. Many camera lenses are prone to this effect. It is most common when shooting at low f numbers, so if possible, keep those f numbers up, especially when shooting high contrast subjects against bright sky backgrounds. If you do have this fringing on your images, you may be able to remove it manually using image editing software. 8. Sensor dirt. This appears as small spots often in the corners of the images. It is more common with DSLRs. To check for these spots, view your images at 100% and make sure you check those corners. They are usually very easy to remove with image editing software, and where possible, it's always worth getting your sensor cleaned for future shooting. 9. Duplicates. Variations of the same image, or very close similar images, are nearly always rejected because only the best version is required. Providing a color, black and white, monochrome, and sepia version of an image often reduces the impact of the original, and that may mean all versions are rejected. It can be good to look at images in different ways, but to avoid rejection, only submit the best version of each image you shoot. 10. Overfiltering. Finally, beware of overprocessing and filtering your images. For phone images, this can strip away too much information and mean technical rejection. In other cases, too much sharpening, selective blurring, or trying to smooth out excessive noise will all lead to possible rejection. Designers and picture editors would rather use a clean original version of an image and alter that if they need to. If the original image is good enough, you shouldn't need to add any special effects.